Original post: my wife cheated with my cousin and had a baby. My family kept it secret for years, and now they want back into my life as I've found success. I never thought I'd be the kind of person writing a post like this. But here I am, completely blindsided and betrayed by the two people I trusted most in the world, my wife and my cousin. About 6 months ago, I found out that my wife had been cheating on me with my cousin. Not only that, but she had a baby with him. And here's the kicker: my entire family knew about it. They kept this secret from me for years. They pretended everything was fine, while I was living a lie. I can't even describe the storm of emotions I went through when the truth finally came out. Shock, heartbreak, confusion, anger, and most of all, disbelief that the people I called family could betray me so deeply. I met my wife Sarah about 8 years ago. We hit it off right away and got married 4 years later. For the first few years, I thought we had a pretty normal marriage. Not perfect, but good enough. We didn't have many fights, and I never suspected a thing. She seemed loving, and we shared a lot of the same dreams. My cousin, Mark, has always been around the family. We're close in age, but we never really clicked. I always thought of him as that cousin who comes to family events and hangs out with Sarah sometimes. Honestly, I didn't pay much attention to their interactions. Maybe I should have. Looking back, I can now see some little signs I missed or ignored. Subtle glances, secretive messages, Sarah suddenly becoming distant with me, and Mark acting awkward when I was around. I chalked it all up to normal family dynamics, or maybe my imagination. The truth started to unravel unexpectedly. A family member accidentally let something slip during a conversation. Something about a child I had never heard of. I thought maybe they were joking or mistaken, but my gut told me otherwise. I confronted Sarah, and it all came spilling out. She admitted to having an affair with Mark, that it had been going on for years, and that she had his baby a couple of years ago. I was devastated, but what crushed me even more was when she told me that my family knew everything. When I reached out to them, hoping for some kind of explanation, I was met with silence or weak excuses about not wanting to hurt me or keeping the family together. They thought hiding the truth was better than facing it. The betrayal cut deep. Not only did my wife cheat on me, but my own family chose to protect them and keep me in the dark. It felt like I was a stranger in my own life. I confronted Mark. I wanted answers, an apology, maybe some sign of remorse, but all I got was cold arrogance. He said I was weak, that I never gave Sarah what she wanted, and that I was just a fool for trusting anyone. Hearing that from him was like a punch in the gut. At that point, I decided I couldn't live like this anymore. I moved out, filed for separation, and cut contact with both Sarah and Mark. I needed to distance myself from the toxic environment. The months that followed were some of the hardest of my life. I was drowning in pain and betrayal. But slowly, I realized I had two choices: let this destroy me, or use it to build a better life. I focused on myself, moved to a new city, changed careers, and worked harder than ever. It wasn't easy. There were days I broke down, but I pushed through. And over time, I started to find success, both financially and emotionally. Now, here's where it gets complicated. After hearing about my progress, my family has started reaching out. They want to reconnect, make amends, and be part of my life again. Some are apologetic. Others seem to want a piece of what I've built. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to forgive and move on, but another part is angry and cautious. How do you rebuild trust with people who lied to your face? How do you open your heart to family that chose to betray you and keep secrets for years? I'm sharing this because I'm lost. Has anyone been through something similar? How did you handle family coming back after betrayal? Should I give them a second chance or protect myself by cutting them off forever? I appreciate any advice or support. Thanks for reading. Update 1. The fallout and how I started picking up the pieces after the truth hit me like a freight train. I was a mess. Honestly, I didn't know how to process it all. The shock was quickly replaced by a tidal wave of emotions. Anger so hot, it burned through me. Sadness so deep, it felt endless. And betrayal that cut sharper than any knife. For weeks, I was a ghost in my own life. Getting out of bed was a battle, and when I did, I went through the motions like a robot. I stopped answering calls, avoided family gatherings, and withdrew from most of my friends. I felt like everyone had been lying to me. My wife, my cousin, my family. How could I trust anyone again? At first, I couldn't even bring myself to tell anyone outside the circle. I was ashamed and embarrassed. It felt like such a personal, humiliating failure. But eventually, I confided in a close friend who helped me see that I wasn't alone and that I needed support. That the breakup was messy but necessary. I moved out of our home and filed for separation soon after. Cutting ties with Sarah was hard, even with all the pain, but cutting off Mark, my cousin, felt like slamming the door on the last thread of family I thought I had. The hardest part was starting over. I left the city we built our life in and took a job in a new place where no one knew me or the history I was trying to escape. The fresh start was both terrifying and freeing. I had to rebuild everything: my career, my social circle, and most importantly, my sense of self-worth. Meanwhile, the family drama didn't end. Once they realized I was pulling away, they started reaching out. Some calls came from my parents, others from siblings and extended relatives, but their tone varied wildly. Some sounded genuinely sorry, like they finally realized the weight of what they did. Others sounded defensive, almost like they were trying to justify the secrecy. A few were downright manipulative, suggesting I owed them forgiveness or that I was overreacting and should put the family first. Their common excuse: that they kept the secret to protect me and avoid tearing the family apart. They claimed it was too painful to tell me the truth back then and that they thought bearing it was the kinder choice. Hearing this only made my blood boil. Protect me by lying to me, by letting my marriage crumble while they stayed silent. I felt like I was the only one punished for their mistakes. I responded cautiously, mostly avoiding calls and texts. When I did respond, I set clear boundaries. I told them I needed space and time, that trust had been broken, and it would take a long time, if ever, to repair. I refused to engage in any conversations that tried to guilt-trip me or minimize what happened. I confronted some family members directly, asked why they thought hiding such a life-changing secret was acceptable. Some apologized, broken and ashamed. Others deflected or claimed they were stuck in the middle and didn't know how to handle it. I understood that to some degree, but it didn't change the hurt. As I slowly started to put my life back together, I found strength in surprising places. I made new friends, people who had no connection to my past and who saw me for who I was, not what had happened. I focused on my career, took on new challenges, and worked tirelessly to prove to myself that I could succeed without the support I thought I needed. I also sought therapy. Talking to a professional helped me unpack the betrayal and gave me tools to cope with the anger and grief. It also helped me start to rebuild trust in people, something I thought was lost forever. In time, I started dating again, cautiously. Opening up to someone new was scary, but it was a sign I was healing. Now, with my family starting to reappear in my life, I'm at a crossroads. Should I even entertain their attempts to reconnect? Can I ever trust them again? How do I set boundaries that protect me but don't close the door forever? I don't have the answers yet, but I'm curious, has anyone else been in this position? How did you handle family coming back after years of betrayal? What boundaries worked for you? Thanks for reading and for any advice you can share. Update: to the family drama unfolds in the long road to healing. After my last post, I realized there's so much more to the story than I initially shared. The aftermath of discovering my wife's affair with my cousin and the secret baby wasn't just about my heartbreak. It dragged my entire family into turmoil, and it's been a wild, messy ride trying to navigate the fallout. Deeper family revelations. Once the secret was out, the family fractures became painfully clear. Some relatives expressed deep guilt for hiding the truth, apologizing sincerely and telling me they wished they had the courage to tell me sooner. But others doubled down, defending their silence as necessary or even merciful because they thought sparing me from the pain was more important. It turned into a full family conflict. Siblings took sides, old wounds resurfaced, and conversations I once thought were normal became battlegrounds. Some relatives wouldn't talk to me for months because they felt I was punishing them for protecting the secret. Others admitted, privately, they were afraid of breaking up the family. Even family events became awkward, with people whispering behind my back and avoiding eye contact. The once unified family felt broken, and I was caught in the middle of all the chaos. How the secret affected relationships behind the scenes. The betrayal didn't just shatter my marriage, it changed everything. I realized that some family members had been walking on eggshells for years, pretending the situation wasn't happening. It created a toxic silence that infected the whole family dynamic. I also found out that the cousin's side of the family knew and supported him, which added another layer of tension. It was clear my family had chosen sides long before I did. Impact on my life. Dating again has been difficult. I've been cautious and guarded, haunted by the fear of being betrayed again. Trust isn't easy to give when you've been burned so badly by people who were supposed to have your back. My perspective on family and relationships has changed drastically. I'm more aware of the complexities and the fact that sometimes family isn't just about blood, but about who truly supports you. Interactions with my wife, cousin, and their child. I haven't seen Sarah or Mark since I moved out. The baby is about 2 years old now. I haven't met the child, nor do I have any intention of doing so anytime soon. They have tried reaching out a few times through indirect channels, messages passed through family members, or posts on social media. Honestly, it's a mix of confusion, resentment, and sadness whenever I think about them. I'm still processing my feelings about their child. Part of me wants to be the bigger person, but another part feels raw and protective of my own healing. Handling pressure from family members. Keep oscillating between pleading for forgiveness and trying to guilt-trip me for shutting them out. Some genuinely want to make amends, while others seem to want something from me, whether it's emotional closure or a connection to my newfound success. The emotional manipulation is exhausting. I've had to learn to say no and keep my boundaries firm. My healing process therapy has been a lifeline. Talking through the pain, unpacking the trauma, and understanding my own worth have helped me immensely. I also threw myself into hobbies. I love running, painting, and even volunteering. These helped fill the emptiness and gave me a sense of purpose outside the family chaos. Friends, old and new, have been my rock. Building genuine connections has reminded me that not everyone will betray me. What helped me move on emotionally, setting clear boundaries with toxic family members, focusing on self-care and mental health, building a support system outside of blood relations, allowing myself to grieve fully without rushing, forgiveness, taking time to rebuild trust slowly, starting with myself. To everyone, read Engum, still figuring things out. I want to rebuild my life and maybe, someday, rebuild some family relationships. But I also want to protect my peace and not get dragged back into the past. Has anyone been in a similar situation where your family betrayed you and then tried to come back? How did you handle setting boundaries? Did you find a way to rebuild trust, or did you walk away completely? Thank you all for listening, and for any advice you can share. It means more than you know. Final update. Where I stand now, healing boundaries. And moving forward, it's been over 2 years since I uncovered the devastating truth about my wife, my cousin, and the secret baby that changed everything. Since then, I've been on a long, difficult journey, one that forced me to confront the worst betrayals imaginable and ultimately helped me find myself again. Where I stand now, I won't lie. The wounds from my wife's betrayal and my family's silence are still there, but they've faded with time. My feelings about Sarah and Mark are complicated, mostly anger and disappointment. Mixed with some sadness for what could have been, I have cut off contact with them completely. I realize that any interaction with them only reopened wounds that needed to heal. As for the baby, I have chosen not to be part of that chapter. I needed to prioritize my mental health and peace over any complicated feelings of obligation. Regarding my family, I have allowed a few members back into my life. Those who acknowledged their mistakes honestly and have shown consistent effort to rebuild trust without excuses or manipulation. Others remain on the sidelines. I've learned that forgiveness isn't a one-time event, but a process. And it's okay to keep boundaries in place if people don't respect you. What I learned, this experience has taught me profound lessons about trust and betrayal. I learned that family loyalty is not unconditional. It doesn't mean protecting secrets that hurt you or siding with people who hurt you. Most importantly, I learned about my own. I am not defined by what happened or by the actions of others. I am more than the pain I endured, and I deserve respect, honesty, and love no matter where it comes from. My current life today, I'm in a much better place. Professionally, I've achieved more than I ever imagined. Thanks to the hard work I poured into rebuilding my life, I have a career that challenges me and a supportive circle of friends who have become like family. Emotionally, I'm more grounded and resilient. Therapy and self-reflection have helped me build boundaries and trust again, both in myself and others. I'm even cautiously exploring new relationships, which feels like a huge step after all I've been through. Closure due, I forgive. Partly, forgiveness for me is less about them and more about freeing myself from bitterness and pain. But forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or inviting people back who don't respect my boundaries. I've chosen to walk my own path, one of healing, strength, and self-respect. I don't know what the future holds for my family ties, but I know I'm no longer held hostage by the past. Thank you, and final thoughts. Thank you all for the kindness, advice, and support through this story. Sharing this has helped me feel less alone and more understood than I ever expected. If I could go back and give myself one piece of advice at the start, it would be, trust your instincts, prioritize your own well-being, and don't let anyone else's silence or betrayal define your worth. For anyone going through something similar, remember that healing is messy but possible. Set your boundaries, seek support, and don't rush forgiveness. It's okay to take your time. If you have any final advice or words of encouragement, I'm here to listen.